Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back for another video. Today, I want to talk about the crypto market and Bitcoin's level playing field, but not just Bitcoin's level playing field, Ethereum's level playing field. We are currently on a level playing field. Why am I having trouble saying that? And if you like this content, smash up that like button, comment in the comment section, subscribe to the channel if you have not. But let's go ahead and dive right on into this. So over the last 24 hours, we're seeing some red. I am not going to sweat it all that much, especially looking at Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is now undergoing, hopefully, if things stay relatively the same, its 8th straight green candle, and Ethereum not doing so bad either. I mean, we're looking at about 2 weeks of green with a few blips, basically. So that's great. If you can even remember this, Ethereum on March 14th was a little over $2,500. It's gone up almost $1,000 in a span of 2 weeks. Fantastic. So where do we go from here, and what do I mean by a level playing field? Well, I mean, let's take a look back at the days, those brutal 2.5, 3 months when Bitcoin peaked on November 10th at $69,000. And then it was it pretty much was just straight down for a period of 2.5 months until we bottomed on January 24th at $32,800. And now we're on our way back up. So what contributed to that drop? I think you guys know already, but let me summarize. There were a couple big things. The biggest thing being the high CPI numbers that were reported on November 10th, that put an end, that derailed any hope of continuing momentum to new heights. I very much do believe that we would have hit six figures if it wasn't for that. Plus all of the restructuring in China with Huobi and OKEX shutting down their mainland China operations. What we saw in light of that was a lot of selling pressure from China. And so, but the bigger thing was the inflation and then the Fed's reaction to that, which some people, a handful of people, were able to anticipate, but a large majority of people were just not able to, at the time, process this idea that the DXY would strengthen even though inflation is insane. I mean, it should be counterintuitive, but for some people, it made sense on the short term. On the long term, bullish for Bitcoin and for crypto, bearish for the dollar, but on the short term, bullish for the dollar. And that's what we've seen. We just saw the fear of the Fed's raising rates play itself out. We also, of course, saw the fear of the war in Russia, which really, in the Ukraine, which really has turned into, as has happened very often, a sell the fear, buy the invasion type of event. So we saw all of that take shape, and until about the middle of November, middle of March 14th, which is around the time that the Fed met, we have just had this fear of, oh no, the Fed's going to raise rates, just looming, hanging over us. And then they raised rates. And then what? Well, okay, rates were raised and the sky isn't falling and we can move on with our lives. I mean, come on, a raise from 0.00 to 0.25, is that really something that we're going to be terrified about? And then even the fact that historically the stock market, at least, has done well in the process, at least initially, with the rates being raised. I mean, the effects of rate increases won't take an effect in the economy for several months or several years, and who knows? I mean, the Fed has turned dovish after being hawkish, and as you know, I very much expect the Fed to turn dovish at some point, maybe this year, maybe 2023. And so the worst is behind us. I mean, yes, we could have some kind of black swan event. Russia, Ukraine could turn into World War III. That would be very bearish. But for the time being, what we have is a level playing field. But not only that, I would say more so that the bulls are in control right now. And why is that? I mean, it's quite simply we're above the bull market support band. You guys know my definition of am I a bull or am I a bear? I am a bear under the bull market support band, especially for altcoins, and I am a bull above the bull market support band. band. And so, I mean, you could see this play out right here. We were under the bull market support band. We kept on getting rejected there for a period of about 3 months. And then finally, last week, we broke through. And so during this whole time, while Bitcoin was struggling to break through the 21-week EMA, altcoins were bleeding pretty heavily. And so I was like, when is this going to end? It seems like it's not going to end. But then finally, last week, it broke through after 3 months, more than 3 months. After what? Yeah, about 3 months. And so now we're on top of the bull market support band. But not only that, we have a few potential catalysts that can send us much higher. If you've been watching my channel, there's all sorts of potential catalysts that are looming that can send the entire market much higher. XRP winning the Ripple suit would be huge, a spot Bitcoin ETF. But there's a couple of things that we're seeing play out right now that are bullish short term, and I'm very excited about those things, and so I want to talk about those things. First of all, if you haven't heard, I talked about this on other platforms, Terra Luna is attempting at least to buy $10 billion worth of worth of Bitcoin. And here is their wallet. You can see it on bitinfocharts.com. As of right now, it is the 32nd largest wallet in existence, in all of existence for Bitcoin. And they have been steadily adding. They've added about $1 billion worth of Bitcoin over the last week. And let's see what the price of Bitcoin has done over the last week. 7 going on 8 straight days of green candles. Is that a coincidence? Now, Luna doesn't have it's not like it all depends on Luna, but to buy $100 to $200 million worth of Bitcoin every day certainly has an effect. And not only that, but it has an effect on people. What I'm seeing reports of is that a lot of whales right now do not want to sell because Luna is in the process of buying $10 billion worth of Bitcoin. But not only that, I've talked about this before. $9.3 billion. $9.3 billion more of buying than selling worth of Bitcoin will double the price of Bitcoin. So how will that play out with Luna? I mean, we're seeing that they're having a really hard time trying to buy Bitcoin. And they've bought $1 billion worth. And in that process, Bitcoin has gone up almost $8,000. So does that mean that the next billion that Bitcoin is going to go up another $8,000? Not necessarily, because I think right now what they're doing is waiting for some kind of a dip, maybe some kind of a move back down to the bull market support band before they start buying again. We'll see. Because, I mean, man, they've been purchasing every day. Now they've gone about more than 24 hours of not purchasing. So maybe I think it would be wise for them to wait for this to cool off. But if they don't, let's just say that they are like, no matter what the price is, we are going to buy $100 to $200 million worth of Bitcoin every day. We might go up in almost a straight line, maybe. Because again, I mean, the smart money is seeing this. It's seeing a major player in this. And they have all the same data that I'm presenting to you. This $93 million, a single $93 million purchase of Bitcoin will increase it. This was a year ago when the supply was more liquid, but a single $93 million purchase of Bitcoin would increase the entire price of Bitcoin by 1%. And they're making purchases every day that those purchases would increase the price of Bitcoin by 1% to 2%. Actually, maybe even more so right now because of how much more illiquid the supply is. This is super bullish if they continue. That's a big if. So maybe they wait a little bit. You know what I would do if I were them, honestly, I mean, personally, please, Luna, keep buying Bitcoin. But what I would do if I were them is I would wait until maybe the price of Bitcoin got back down to the bull market support band, the 20-week SMA. Because, I mean, logically, it would make sense without them buying that naturally the way things would progress is that the price of Bitcoin would go back down to the 20-week SMA, which is currently at a little under $46,000. So wait for the price of Bitcoin to go down there, and then I would start buying again, and we'll see about that. After that, I would very much, I'd put a hold on it if Bitcoin got up to the 0.5 fib and the 618 at $55,000, and very much put a hold on it if Bitcoin got up to the 702 at $58,000. But man, I would not want to be in their shoes, because they really could do something that would cost them a lot of money. I mean, if they just keep on buying every day, the price of Bitcoin could, I mean, legitimately it could get to six figures. But I don't think that they're going to be that stupid. I wouldn't be surprised if they were a little bit nervous right now, looking at the fact that Bitcoin has gone up $8,000 in the span of a time that they've bought $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. But this is huge. Please don't stop, Luna. Please keep buying more and more Bitcoin. I would greatly appreciate it. All of us would greatly appreciate it. You know what? You would actually greatly appreciate it, because Luna right now is at $109, a new all-time high again for Luna. So I don't know. Maybe they have some other motivations here. The other thing that is really bullish, and we're seeing this on the Ethereum chart, that's why Ethereum just has been rallying like crazy over the last 2 weeks, is the potential with ETH 2.0. Now, I've always been because guys, ETH 2.0 is going to be enormous. It is truly like three halvings, the effect of three halvings on Ethereum. And I've talked about that before. They're cutting down their supply by 1/10. And so any signal that ETH 2.0 might be ready is going to be huge for the entire crypto market. And so far, so good. So here's what we've seen so far. So last week, Ethereum developers successfully tested the long-awaited merge of the programmable blockchains proof of work and proof of stake chains, dubbed ETH 2.0, which will allow users to hold coins in a cryptocurrency wallet to support network operations in return for newly minted coins. Thus, staking is analogous to passive investing. ETH 2.0 is looking good. I mean, Ethereum is notorious for delaying launches of EIP protocols, and this is EIP 3675, and they might not actually have to delay it. Right now, it's on track to be released for the merge to happen sometime this summer, June or July. I mean, even if they were to delay it a few months after that, that would be huge for the entire crypto market. And so that's what I mean when I'm saying that we're on a level playing field right now. And actually, you know, above the bull market support band, we really need to consider this, that the bulls have a slight advantage right now. They do. Because, you know, we're above the bull market support band. I'm faithful to that. I am robotic in that regard. But again, Fed fears are mostly gone. Russia, we'll see. That's just the kind of thing. What happens if we get reports that they're negotiating and that they're going to reach some kind of a peace agreement? We'll see. I mean, watch out. That has certainly been priced in the markets already. The war itself, the negatives for the war. So what happens if some kind of peace is reached? What do the bears have, really? I mean, aside from more fear with the Feds raising rates, I guess. But on the bulls side, this Luna thing is enormous, and ETH 2.0 is enormous. And again, I mean, guys, what have I been saying? I'm not expecting anything extraordinary for the first half of the year, maybe in the first 3 quarters of the year, and maybe even beyond that, unless we see some kind of catalyst. And is Luna one of those catalysts right now? Absolutely, 100%, no doubt. Is ETH 2.0 one of those catalysts right now? Absolutely, 100%, no doubt. And there's so many other things that could launch us much higher. I mean, I don't know if you've read this, but Grayscale, if Grayscale is not approved as a Bitcoin ETF, then they're going to sue the SEC. So let's see how that works out. I hope it does. But again, I mean, think about Grayscale. They were acquiring Bitcoin like crazy, and then they stopped in February of 2021 because of the Grayscale discount. It just got wildly disproportionate to the price of Bitcoin, which had been a faithful thing for so many years that they had to stop buying. So what happens when Grayscale gets approved as a spot Bitcoin ETF, they can start buying again, and they'll buy like crazy. Their holdings, I truly believe, would get over 1 million Bitcoin. So that's more than $10 billion being injected in the system. So anyway, personally, I'm going to speak for myself. I don't see much of a reason to sell right now. Yes, since January 24th, Bitcoin is up about 50%. I mean, you guys know I'm never selling my Bitcoin, but I personally do not see a compelling reason to offload my crypto right now. The floor is, the distance to the floor is so much narrower than the distance to the ceiling right now. I mean, we'll see once we break through these fib levels, once we reach new all-time highs, what happens. But I am, should I say, cautiously optimistic? I am much more than cautiously optimistic. I'm not FOMOing. I'm not aping right now. I really do believe it would be good for us to go back down to the bull market support band and then just to ride it up slowly instead of a rapid rise, so that once we get to these fib levels, it would be much more difficult, in my opinion, to break to the downside through the bull market support band. Let's get the bull market support band up to $55,000. How do we do that? We don't do that by shooting up to $80,000. And then if we shot up to $80,000 like tomorrow, and then the bull market support band rose to $55,000, we would, on the way back down, just dump right through it. I don't want to do that. I just want to ride it. That was the beautiful thing about 2017. We just rode that the whole way until we went parabolic. So let's just ride this thing. You know, we don't have to have it all now. Let's be patient. Let's wait a few months, dare I say a year, you know, and our patience will be rewarded. So I have no idea. I'm assuming this is a longer video than normal, but that's all I have for today. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful rest of your week. I will most certainly be seeing you in another video. Peace.